What's up, everybody? This is Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and it is Rumor and Innuendo Wednesday. But it is also Florida Gator Emmitt Smith's birthday. Happy birthday to Emmitt Smith, my all-time favorite running back of all time. And I am with a fellow Florida Gator in Robert Karplus, WE Creative _ish. Robert, happy birthday, Emmitt Smith, right?
Huh? Happy birthday, Emmitt Smith. I literally just got off of a work call like 30 seconds ago. It went almost 3 hours long.
My goodness.
So I am, to say flying blind would be an understatement. I'm glad I made it here. I literally logged in at like 11:59. For the cliffhanger, for those of you yesterday, because I had to step out for a minute. The Comcast, the Xfinity guy was here. He showed up 2 hours later than he was supposed to. Fix the issue. I jumped on. I started recording it towards the tail end of the episode, and he was still here working. And he heard it, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Yo, man, did you see that The Rock was back?" And this is why I love wrestling. It brings everybody together. You never know where you're going to find these people. I know where I'm going to find these people, and that's in the comments section. We'll say hi to some folks here. Antonio Santos says, "Happy Wednesday." Poncho316 says, "I just clawed your ass." Got no clue what the hell that means.
Oh, you'll find out, Robert.
Mike Malaro says, "Happy Wednesday." All the real question is, can Stone Cold's Kitten get a streaming deal? I'm 0 for 2 and what the hell's going on here, guys. Joseph Wade Walter says, "Morning, fellas. Dom, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?" All right, at least a little Back to the Future. I kind of know what's going on here, but for the love of God, Dom, hold on. I'm looking at the top of the Okada versus Dax, Stone Cold's Kitten.
Yes,
dude. How long have I been away?
You've missed a lot, Robert. This is like, what is it? Was it Short Circuit where the kid falls asleep or goes into a coma and then he wakes up with a robot or something? Or am I missing it? I don't know. It was an 80s movie.
No, that was an 80s movie. That was not Short Circuit. Short Circuit is one that I don't think you can even watch it anymore because of. Really? So Fisher Stevens, who's in Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2, it's on Succession, is in like brownface playing an Indian guy.
What?
And as a kid, I'll tell this back to wrestling. Like as a kid, didn't realize he was an Indian. In the same way, growing up, I thought like, oh, Yokozuna, that dude's Japanese,
right?
And you look at it now, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? It's my fault for trusting popular culture to be remotely accurate. But the one thing that is always remotely accurate is Dominic D'Angelo. Dom,
yes.
What do we got on tap for today?
We got a diverse set of topics here today. We're gonna touch upon the Warner Brother upfronts coming up and what it indicates with AEW's new TV deal potentially. Vince McMahon, we wanted to cover this yesterday, but with the tech issues Robert was receiving, we didn't get a chance to touch upon it.
It was Vince's lawyers. They were coming after me.
They were wanting to come after Robert.
Twisting knobs and pulling levers.
That's it. That's it. But then we're also going to preview AEW Dynamite, and we'll touch upon Steve Austin's Stone Cold Kitten going on. So let's kick it off here with AEW Dynamite. Tonight, it is indeed Wednesday, so obviously Dynamite is airing. The headline match will be Okada defending the much forgotten about AEW Continental Championship against Dax Harwood in the main event, it appears. I would imagine that's probably going to be the main event. There's also an AEW World Tag Team Title Eliminator match. I hate these Eliminator matches, but the Young Bucks will be taking on Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal. On top of that, we have a contract signing between Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné. I know Robert can't wait for Mercedes' promo skills on that one. Hook returns. I didn't know he was gone that long to initial return, but I guess he's gone long enough for that. Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong will go face-to-face. Malachi Black answers Adam Copeland's challenge for Double or Nothing. Didn't know that the challenge was officially implemented. But Robert, what do you think of this Dynamite lineup tonight?
Well, on Working Stiff, we do Dynamite or Dud, and on First Impression, I think there's a lot of odd matches that are probably going to be good, but it's like Kazuchika Okada versus Dax Harwood. Seems to me like a random, we pulled a name out of a hat. Dax is really, really good, but the audience primarily knows him as a tag wrestler. I get that we're trying to forward this AEW versus the Elite story. So I'll be curious to see what happens. I believe someone told me that the charges against Cash Wheeler had been dropped. So
Right.
I guess they can kind of focus on that. But they have not announced whether or not Eddie Kingston is cleared to participate in the Double or Nothing main event. So there's a possibility in this match we get an interference from someone who's going to be the fourth man for Team AEW. Spitballing, hypothesizing, rumor, and innuendo. But Dax is just a dude where you give him a chance, he's going to deliver a hell of a match. The tag eliminator, like Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal, both great guys. I like Matt Sydal a whole lot. I don't think I've ever met Christopher Daniels, but he just seems like a really great guy in the industry.
Yeah, he is.
Nobody's looking at those guys and going, yeah, those are your number one contenders for your tag titles. So it feels like there'll be some shenanigans and some chicanery, but it's a match that's kind of a foregone conclusion. It might be entertaining, but it's kind of like a little bit like the Becky Lynch Dakota Kai match on Raw. Nobody's doubting the true outcome here. Ospreay back, which is great. Roderick Strong on the microphone. Mercedes Moné on the microphone.
Your silence might be more compelling than either of their promos tonight, Robert. So
we're trying here. I think we got to set up the paper. I don't know when their pay-per-view is. It's in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think it's the same weekend as King and Queen of the Ring. Am I correct?
Same weekend as NXT Battleground. I don't know if that, but I think you are right too in that. I think you are right too that King and Queen of the Ring are happening that same weekend.
And then it looks like Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah. So I love Jeff Cobb. I mean, they used him as a mercenary earlier on in AEW, and he's just fantastic. Like, just a great look, amazing talent in the ring. I'm all for Jeff Cobb, more Jeff Cobb, so I'm okay with that. But
I like Jeff Cobb quite a bit. I had the pleasure of working with him before in MLW. Mm-hmm. But when is he part of the Don Callis family? Did I miss that? Because isn't Kyle Fletcher part of the Don Callis family?
Yes, they did not set anything up with Jeff Cobb there. I mean, you can use the excuse that he is a mercenary and maybe do something like that, but I didn't know. I mean, I'm not super in tune with New Japan storyline telling at the moment. I think he is associated with them, actually, now that I think about it a little bit, but I could be very wrong on that.
I don't remember that ever being an association. I know they've been teasing an Orange Cassidy alliance with Don Callis, which is strange. I think Kyle Fletcher is a hell of a talent. I think he's a star of the future. We'll see what they do in a Blackpool Combat Club match. But yeah, Danielson is suddenly, he's back. He's on Team AEW, but he's also in the Blackpool Combat Club. Maybe Moxley's the replacement for Kingston. Maybe that's where you're getting to.
That kind of makes the most sense, right? If you're going to do something to that effect, I guess.
Claudio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm looking at the range. I'm just a little baffled, quite frankly, with what AEW is putting out there this week. That's a great, can't miss. And unless I'm missing something, there's nothing in the advertised preview about the world champion.
No, I didn't see anything lined up. I can check Twitter real quick.
No, that's all right. This is what they put out there. It's just kind of strange that your world champion, has been such an afterthought that this feels even more so. But at least we're going to get that contract signing.
Oh, hey, we got something.
What do you like?
It's an actual match. It's an actual match. It's AEW World Championship Eliminator match. Swerve Strickland will be taking on the Machine Brian Cage in a match. So they're tied in the Mogul Embassy storyline with that. But that has now been advertised 40 minutes ago. So
yeah,
there we go.
I'm trying so hard. I'm shifting gears from real life mode to this mode, trying not to be hypercritical. And look, obviously Swerve and I are friends. Brian Cage and I have known each other for a while. I like Brian Cage.
Yes.
It's another match that's a complete storyline foregone conclusion. Either we're going to get a beatdown or Swerve's just going to beat Brian Cage because they've beat Brian Cage so many times that it doesn't even matter when he loses now. And when you have a guy who looks like that,
yeah,
that's terrible.
It's really bad. And you know what? The Eliminator matches have just been a designation for like filler match, where it's like nobody ever wins an eliminator match, it seems. So if you're gonna do something, hey, maybe make Brian Cage win this match in some form or fashion. You have Christian interfere, you have somebody mess with it, and boom. There you go. Down the road, you can have a title match, and you kind of make it mean something. These eliminator matches seem forgettable because nobody ever wins them. Like they get the opportunity and then they don't win. And so, okay, what was the point of even have that match? It's just dumb. I didn't like it when WWE did it, like for the like a number one contendership match to earn your right to get the title. I didn't like those. Now here it is. It's just in AEW. It just seems counterproductive. I'm not a fan. But I will say this: the matches on the card from the just looking at them, they should be a lot of fun, I think. And maybe AEW will deliver tonight. We'll see.
We'll see what they wind up doing. I wish that they would create some sort of maybe a ranking system of some sort, like wins and losses to set who's going to be where, and then that's how they can determine who number one contenders are. In what I swear is not a parody, that this is really a thing that's happening right now. So I just got a phone call. I was supposed to have a company supposed to pick up something from my house. They said they were going to be here between 4 and 6.
Yes.
Between 4 and 6 post-meridian.
Uh-huh.
It is 12 o'clock.
This is
And
hilarious.
I just got a call, and they're like, oh, they're at the front gate. Are you absolutely kidding me? So you're going to have to forgive me for just a moment so I can let them in. Dom, I leave this in your trusted hands.
Okay. Let me think here. I want to cover a little bit more with Dynamite here. You know what? You're looking at a lot of these names, and I kind of touched upon this yesterday, was the fact that AEW has not built stars appropriately to fill in place of stars that get hurt, like Eddie Kingston. I mean, Moxley makes sense. I think he'll be a good fill-in for that if they decide to go with him, because he's really been the flag bearer of AEW since he debuted. And like they've put the belt on him several times. They've made him a big prominent thing. But you look at other talents, and I'm looking at some names here. Like we spoke about Hook yesterday and how like he's been hot and cold and things like that. Even a guy like Christopher Daniels, a veteran who was kind of tying up his career in a lot of ways, he still had a lot of leeway and I think a lot of cachet early on in AEW. And they just didn't take advantage of that, take advantage of another partner of his in Scorpio Sky. I know he's hurt. I hope all is well with him. But then I look here too at Malachi Black, and he's finally getting a prominent spot on AEW television in a high-profile program with Adam Copeland. Yeah, I wonder from his own perspective, from his own thought process, if this feels like a little too late for him. We've heard reports of him not being very happy in AEW and not having those opportunities. Like, and just you think about it too, when he first debuted, how big of a deal that felt. Like, oh man, he's getting matches with Cody Rhodes. He's going to be such a dark, cool presence in AEW that really going to set the tone for like almost like, I don't want to say their Undertaker, but have that kind of dynamic to him. And like House of Black just seemed like a cool faction. And then again, I get so frustrated thinking about it, how they do not utilize these talents. They really reflected when it was WWE having the call-ups from NXT, and then you just knowing that Vince was not going to do anything with these NXT talents, and it just seemed like a fruitless effort. So you can hear Robert's dog barking. But yes, I'm on paper here, the card looks pretty darn cool. The card looks pretty exciting. They have some potential to make it an exciting show tonight. So we'll see what happens when it comes to all that. I cautiously optimistic, as I usually am with AEW. Guys, dang it, I wanted to really fill Robert in on this, so hopefully he can show up in time. I'm trying to think what I can else say about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Warner Brother upfronts here. Now I'm getting word in the chat here that Warner Brothers Discovery did not even mention AEW in the upfronts. And a report from Fightful actually has PW Insider reported that it was believed that a new deal has not been reached with AEW. So kind of speaks to the fact that upfronts that they weren't spoken on the upfront. And while AEW is likely going to be mentioned they weren't likely going to be mentioned at the Warner Brother upfront. Allegedly they weren't here. That a new deal is isn't likely to be announced. However, after speaking with AEW and Warner Brother Discovery sources, we learned a lot more about the relationship between the two parties. This is all from PW Insider, not me. I'm not saying I did. I've learned. We've told the announcement of a new deal is expected to be kept very close to the vest, and summer or fall could be more likely an announcement at this point. The exclusivity window between AEW and Warner Brother continues into the summer, though we don't have a firm date on when that ends. I thought it already ended. I'm very confused on this. Either way, I don't know. We talked about how Warner Brothers Discovery could be shifting their game plans, even with the loss of the NBA, the potential loss of the NBA on their TV deal, and how that could affect AEW in a negative fashion, where it's just like, what are they going to do? Do they seem to have the product worthwhile in making it a big product of theirs, when, the numbers haven't been that good, to be forthright? So what are we going to see here moving forward when it comes to all that stuff? I don't know. I'm very skeptical. I hope that they make a deal with TNT or TBS, or better yet, I would hope they make an even bigger deal with somebody else. I would love to see that. And hey, if that were to happen, it's a stretch, but if that were to happen where they get a bigger deal, like, I'm just saying, throwing it out there for the hell of it, like a Fox or CBS or something like that, where like they kind of fill in that SmackDown role on a bigger network, somebody sees some potential in this, that would be a very big motivator for pro wrestling, for AEW, for everything else. That would be the ultimate thing to happen if they got on even a bigger broadcast channel or something like that when it comes to that. Don't see it happening by any sorts of the imagination, but that would obviously be the best possible outcome for him. This is something else that it's going to be interesting to see how Turner, Warner Brothers Discovery handles all this, if moving forward they will have that many people. Guys, too, also wanted to mention, too, now we are live on Working Stiff X account, but we're also live on the Working Stiff YouTube channel. That was formerly actually the Greg Gagne and Magnum TA YouTube channel, but now it is the Working Stiff YouTube channel. So, guys, tune in and subscribe to that. Let's get the word out about Working Stiff. Dan and Robert actually just dropped a new episode yesterday, a bonus episode, something to sports entertain with, they call it, and they review WWE Raw. They talk about some other stuff on there too, because Dan St. Germain, comedian Dan St. Germain, is on tour this week, so he will be out of pocket for their usual recording. There will be an added episode recording going on there, and just keep tuned into that. It should be pretty neat. Hey, guess what? I just muted the dog. I didn't even think about that. But speaking of dogs and animals, I'm just going to cover this right now, and if Robert happens to show up, heck, he can join in on the conversation. So I've been a big Steve Austin proponent, fan, obviously, things like that. I got to meet him in 2018 and all that stuff. And I follow him on Instagram, on social media. And he has, and a lot of fans are aware of this too. Antonio Santos is well aware of it. And some other fans in the chat here too are as well. That Steve Austin has been, Robert's back. Sweet. Okay, let's bring him back in. Robert. Oh, I removed him.
Hey.
There you are. Hey, you're back in business, huh?
Oh, great.
Holy. I covered the Warner Brother upfronts a little bit.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you've heard any news in regards to that, but maybe we can cover that a little bit more in detail tomorrow as well.
But yeah, I think we're gonna want to talk about Warner upfronts when we talk about the quality of Dynamite from tonight's show. But we'll see where it's at.
What I was talking about, I was kind of filling in a little bit because I didn't want to certainly cover the Vince McMahon stuff without you. But I did happen to mention Steve Austin did adopt a kitten. He has a cat. So if you follow him on Instagram, he's been really a big advocate for his cat Poncho that lives in a barn, hangs out. The cat like crawls all over him and hangs out with him while he's doing work. It's like such a surreal relationship that Steve Austin has with his cat Poncho. And they had another barn cat that just unfortunately passed away, named Lefty. And so Steve Austin ended up adopting another kitten here that's only 6 weeks old and named it after Randy Savage. He named it Macho. So that's been like the kind of the talk this morning and it's gotten a lot of traction on social media already. I covered it on sdscoops.com. Take a look at that article. Real quick too, I want to plug friend of the show, current co-host on here, Zach Haydorn, has written a book about Steve Austin. It's called Stunning. It's going to be available everywhere Friday on Amazon, so you can check it out there. It's by Hybrid Shoot, so Jonathan Snowden, who does some good work there too. But take a look. This is a really thorough book. It's got like pictures, matches, everything like that. How Steve Austin became Stone Cold Steve Austin. Unauthorized, really good book. If you're a Steve Austin fan, if you like Zach Haydorn's work, and he's a great writer too, be sure to check that out. Available on Friday on Amazon. So I'll be doing a little bit more promotion with that. But
I did not get a copy of this book, Zach. We have heat.
Well, I donated. I donated, Robert.
So. I didn't realize it comes out this Friday. I talked to him about it before when he was on here that it was coming out. When it came out, we were going to have him back on, so we will have to schedule some quality Zach time. Vince, we were going to get to it yesterday. Why don't you tee this one up here, Dom?
Sure, let's tee it up.
This is not going to be our Blue Chew plug, by the way.
No, not by any sorts of the imagination. Okay, so Vince McMahon, his legal team filed a memorandum, apparently. The most recent response from McMahon's legal team, they claim that Janel Grant's effort to strike McMahon's comments are at the height of hypocrisy, given that she has alleged about him. The new memorandum adds that the discovery in this case will show the following. I'll read these real quick, Robert, and then you can cover them. That Janel Grant, was in love with him, Vince McMahon, and that he was the love of her life, that he was her best friend, that she wanted to have sex with him and provided graphic detail, that she fantasized about being held down, enjoyed being in pain, and wanted rough sex, and that she wanted the defendant to watch her have sex with other people and know about her sex with others. She wanted the defendant to give her thousands of dollars for clothes, plastic surgery, and other gifts. She wanted to have a future with the defendant, Vince McMahon, even after signing the agreement. And finally, that she wanted the defendant to keep living in the same building so she could continue to see him even after signing the agreement. Robert, you made this prediction earlier on. What do you think about all this?
So these are the purpose of this is to try to introduce text messages between the parties that were not included in Janel Grant's original complaint, that Vince feels show that there was an intent behind her relationship with him, that this was consensual, that they were in love, that the actions that were outlined in her complaint that were so salacious and so shocking were at its root consensual, that the things that Vince did to her that seemed to shock the conscience of society were things that she had either asked for, initiated, expressed interest in, that she loved him, that this was a good relationship that ultimately went south. The idea that she wanted Vince to see her having sex with other people would then go into the claims against John Laurinaitis, against Brock Lesnar, around Vince showing images of her to other people, that these were consensual. And consent is really at the base and the basis of what this argument is. So this motion to strike is trying to keep these text messages out, that they can't be put in front of a jury. They can't be included within what a jury, whoever's going to be considering, is going to be considering. And if these get out, if they wind up being incorporated into the record, it's going to severely hinder Janel Grant's ability to recover. Because if Vince's side is saying, and I kind of said this is a tawdry, seedy, awful business to be in, but everyone's entitled to a zealous defense. When I was in law school, we used to joke, not really a joke, but it was just kind of if bin Laden were to be caught, this before bin Laden obviously was killed by John Cena, but yes, if bin Laden were caught, the ability to go and make a defense for him, for as unconscionable as what he did, is at the root of the profession. That's the job. It's like you entitled to a zealous defense. So in Vince's case, his defense is going to be, this was all consensual. This was a loving relationship. This was not some evil megalomaniacal monster holding control over a woman. This was, a romantic comedy meet cute in the corner of hell where this would have happened, and that everything that transpired was between two consenting adults. Even that to put that in front of a jury. I don't know how many people are necessarily going to believe it, but in their eyes, in their mind, they want to at least be able to put that defense forward, present this evidence, say, here's what she said, use her words against her, and try to either soften the blow or get this thing dismissed. It's also a good tactic to say, look, if these things get out, here's another incentive for you to settle and make this go away.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw this, Robert, too. Yesterday, according to PW Insider, WWE filed a motion to propel them to move Janel Grant's case into arbitration too, additionally. Because apparently, according to them, she agreed to handle any situation through arbitration first, and she didn't do that allegedly. So here we go. So that's another aspect of it. I did want to get your perspective on the aspect. Okay, Vince is wanted to file for arbitration. John Laurinaitis filed for arbitration. Janel Grant hasn't. WWE has. Is this kind of is there an association that we could make when it comes to Vince McMahon laying all this stuff out, saying, hey, text messages could surface, but then I'm also wanting to do arbitration? Is there kind of like a counterproductive thing to that? Or how do you kind of feel about those two things? Or do they coincide with one another?
So it sort of depends. WWE is in a very uncomfortable position where they sort of have to support Vince in the situation where they want him to win, so this goes away, so that there is no liability on the WWE. Any potential blowback, as minimal as it may be. So arbitration, again, you're getting into a room, no cameras, there's no recording of what's happened. It's a very private matter. The information that's disclosed in there is disclosed solely for the purposes of getting a settlement. So you're allowed to just vocalize everything, where you can get in that room and say, look, you're gonna go in front of a jury and you're gonna say this is what I'm gonna say, and a good mediator, a good person in the middle is going to be in that room, a non-biased party who's going to broker this deal is going to say, like, you're not going to get what you want, you're not going to get what you want, no side is going to ultimately be happy, we can come to a conclusion here today and make this go away. If the solution is, Janel Grant, you believe you are entitled to financial restitution, you believe that because of the pain and suffering and the damages that you've had, you are entitled to be made whole, then we are going to come to a dollar figure, a number that is going to make everyone happy. We are going to sign a document that this is now done. There is no further pending litigation. None of this information is going to see the light of day. And if it does, there are steep penalties for it. That obviously benefits WWE. That benefits John Laurinaitis. That benefits Vince McMahon. For Janel Grant's side, if the idea is there's a dollar figure I have in mind, maybe you go to arbitration and you get to that point. If you put this in front of a jury, you can shock the conscience of the general public. We know what kind of man Vince McMahon is because we've seen not only the Mr. McMahon character, but in books like the Ringmaster book by Abraham Josie Reisman is right behind the book's right behind me. We know who Vince is. We kind of have some inkling between his interviews, between his actions, between stories that other people have told about working with him, what kind of person Vince is. You get a sympathetic jury who is not really keen on that, and then you let Janel Grant go up there and say, this was a very powerful billionaire CEO of a company who told me, if I want to have a job here, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And if I try to fight him on this, he's going to say, I control the courts, I control the police, I can make your life a living hell unless you do exactly what I say. Juries are going to want to give that woman lots and lots of money. So they want to try to keep it away from her. And some lawyers, not me, some lawyers will say, do you really want to trust your fate to a jury?
It's a wild situation, obviously. And I know I asked you this a couple of weeks ago. Where do you think you're going to see this going? Has any of this information that's came out since we last talked about it kind of changed your perspective on where the outcome might be? Will we see this in the public eye? Will this happen behind closed doors? What do you think?
So Vince hired a PR firm that we talked about before who's going to try to build up Vince as a pillar of society. I saw it back when I was there and Linda was going to be running for Congress, and the narrative that Vince and Linda McMahon are one of the largest employers in all of Connecticut. Here's all the philanthropic charity work that they have done over the last several decades. Here's the USO work they've done. Here's pictures of Vince McMahon with more than one sitting U.S. president. it paints a picture of, this is a guy who I guess was ripe for a target for an opportunistic person. Then they're gonna try to malign Janel Grant. They're gonna drag her name through the mud. She is not a billionaire. She is not a public figure. She is someone who brought a case against someone for actions that she felt were wrong, and it could wind up, unfortunately, defining her life. And if you're going to say, look, we can make this all go away if you get in a room and we talk about this, and if this memorandum that Vince's attorneys filed wins, and they're going to say, look, we're going to bring all these text messages where you're professing your love for Vince and you're talking about all the dark and twisted things that you wanted to do to him, with him, and for him, you're not going to get a dime. So you're going to have gone through this entire exercise and you get nothing.
Yeah.
That's where your lawyer, talks to you and says, look, here are your options. So if this is purely about financial restitution and being made whole, I can see where they're going to potentially get into at least try arbitration. If they think this is a chance for a big public cause, you're gonna take them to court, and you're gonna put this out in the general public and fight your fight there.
Wow, craziness.
I thought this was supposed to be my diversion from my actual work.
Right.
Today. And now here I am, like
you were just on a 3-hour call. Let's add
that was different. But this is here. This is great. And look, there's important questions like Kevin Kellum says, can Dom get any more swole? Yeah. Dom, I don't want your head to swell up, but you are one hell of a producer. Where else can the fine folks hear what you've got with co-hosts that hopefully don't vanish in the middle of your show 2 days in a row? On the plus side, at least now the bed has been carted out. We donated it, and now it is gone. And neither one of them mentioned anything to me about pro wrestling. So here we are.
There we go. Yes, guys, you can find me at rvdtv.com. New episode just dropped this past Monday, as it usually does. Monday, 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about Jacob Fatu. We talk about Kurt Angle. We also have technical difficulties on that one. So that's a fun episode. We only go 50 minutes, so it's short and sweet. In addition to that, we just dropped a new episode of Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne. Go to the 4horsemannetwork.com, 4horsemannetwork.com. You can check it out. We cover Magnum TA's car accident and go into detail about that. Magnum has a great perspective on all that stuff. Robert, I plugged Work and Stiff while you were gone a little bit, but let's talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, we it's one of those rare weeks. We dropped there'll be 2 episodes dropped this week. Dan St. Germain and I yesterday talked about Monday Night Raw. We talked about the similarities and differences between wrestling and comedy. It was a really fun show. That's up on our main feed. And then Scott Chaplin and I will be back on Friday talking about AEW Dynamite, talking about a variety of things that popped up during the week, and absolutely no Hulk Hogan seance. But you can get that wherever you get podcasts, which is the same place you can get the audio version of Rumor and Innuendo, which drops live every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. We are streaming on a ton of platforms, guys. It's growing leaps and bounds by the day. You can catch us on the WWE Creative _ISH X account, Podcast Heat X account. Podcast Heat is who makes this show possible. The Dominic D'Angelo X account, the Working Stiff X account, the SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on the Rumor and Innuendo channel, the Working Stiff channel, and the Ad-Free Shows channel. Unless Jeff Jarrett flexes his unquestionable muscle. Calm down with the flexing the guns there, Dom. We don't want to get the people too excited, because then they're not going to need the Blue Chew. They should still need it. It's gonna help. But hey, on behalf of the swoliest swole who's ever swollen, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Happy birthday, Emmett Smith.